Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really zeroing in on one key source, the CEO's opening remarks from the Eli Lilly Q3 2025 earnings call.
Right.
We're skipping the detailed CFO stuff, the Q&A for now.
Yeah.
Our mission is purely to pull out that high-level strategy, the biggest financial wins, the major clinical news.
Yeah, get the core message.
Exactly, to give you that clear picture of where they see themselves heading.
And it's the right focus. Because the CEO really framed Q3 as, well, proof of broad success. The takeaway was simple. Another strong quarter and progress across all strategic deliverables. That means it wasn't just one thing working. It felt like a coordinated effort. Finance, R&D, even manufacturing prep.
Okay, so when a company this size says strong quarter, you really need to, well, put that in perspective. Let's unpack the financials first. Because, frankly, some of these numbers are just, wow.
They really are something.
Q3 revenue up 54% compared to last year. I mean, for a giant like Lilly, how do you even interpret growth that fast?
Well, that 54%, it's not just growth. It signals real acceleration. It tells you straight away these newer products aren't just hitting, they're penetrating markets, maybe faster than expected.
Right.
And if you dig into that number, the revenue from their key growth drivers, the big names, it actually more than doubled.
Doubled.
Yeah. That's market disruption, plain and simple, driven by that pipeline delivering.
And the U.S. story seems absolutely critical here. Their grip on the U.S. market, especially cardiometabolic stuff, it looks like it's hitting another level.
It is.
They gained share again. And the U.S. incretin analogs market, that's 5 quarters in a row now.
Yeah, that term, incretin analogs, it sounds technical, but for this deep dive, basically think GLP-1s, related drugs for diabetes, for weight loss, it's that hot area.
Right.
And gaining share 5 straight quarters, that shows relentless pressure on competitors.
But the metric that really jumped out from the source material was that raw share figure.
Ah, yes. That's the money shot, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Lilly medicines now make up nearly 6 out of every 10 prescriptions in that whole class in the U.S.
6 out of 10.
In a huge growing market. They're not just participating. They're really setting the pace, grabbing most of the new patients, it seems.
So with that kind of dominant stateside, the obvious question is, okay, is this just a U.S. story or is it bigger?
That's the check you have to do, yeah. And the CEO tackled it. Mounjaro, that's Mounjaro outside the U.S. Its performance accelerated internationally, driven by, quote, robust uptake around the world. So you see that combo, U.S. dominance plus global acceleration.
Right.
It suggests they're actually ready operationally for that wider demand. It's not just hype in one market.
And the immediate financial fallout from that success was pretty telling, too. They raised their full-year guidance, revenue and earnings per share.
Right away.
It feels like a huge vote of confidence from the leadership, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with, potential economic worries or competition out there.
Absolutely. Raising guidance after a 54% growth quarter basically tells the market, we think this can continue. It kind of pushes back on the idea that maybe this is just a temporary spike. They're signaling the infrastructure, the global rollout. It's solid enough to keep delivering these, frankly, astronomical numbers.
Okay, so the financials look incredibly solid, but we all know in pharma, today's money comes from yesterday's science.
Always.
So let's pivot hard to the innovation side. What were the big milestones they ticked off from the pipeline since the last earnings call?
It was actually a pretty long list and across different areas, which is important. Let's start with the 2 big regulatory approvals.
Okay, what were they?
First, oncology. They got U.S. FDA approval for Lumistrent. The brand name is Enliro.
Enliro, right.
And this is for a specific group, HR positive, HER2 negative, ESR1 mutated advanced or metastatic breast cancer. Now that's a mouthful.
Yeah, bit dense.
But the key thing strategically is it targets a specific way cancer becomes resistant, that ESR1 mutation. It pops up when standard treatments stop working for some patients. So this is a targeted fix for a real unmet need.
Got it. So not just another breast cancer drug, but for a specific group who are running out of options.
Exactly. Then, moving over to neuroscience, they got EU approval for CASA. That's for early symptomatic Alzheimer's disease.
Another huge area.
Huge. So again, expanding their footprint in these massive critical disease areas globally, these aren't small wins.
So approvals give validation.
Yeah.
But the data readouts, they build the anticipation, right? And obviously, all eyes were on that cardiometabolic pipeline, especially orgapron. We saw a whole wave of positive phase 3 data.
Yeah, this is where I think the competitive edge really got sharpened this quarter. They learned positive results from the second big phase 3 trial of orgapron for obesity.
Okay.
And that result means they can now start filing for approval globally later this year. But they didn't stop there.
No, they kept going.
They also dropped positive results from 3 more phase 3 trials for orgapron, this time focusing on type 2 diabetes.
3 more. Wow.
Yeah, releasing all that data together, it really shows the molecule's versatility. But the detail that makes this source material so interesting is that head-to-head comparison.
Ah, yes. Against the competition.
That's the crucial differentiator, especially with the intense rivalry with Novo Nordisk. One of those diabetes trials showed orgapron had head-to-head superiority versus oral semaglutide.
Okay, let's pause there. Superiority versus oral semaglutide. That sounds like a massive strategic win. What does hitting that clinical bar mean for Lilly?
It completely changes the conversation around pills versus injections, doesn't it?
Seems like it.
I mean, oral drugs are great for convenience, everyone knows that. But sometimes there's been a perception of maybe a slight trade-off on peak effectiveness compared to injectables.
Right.
This data suggests orgapron isn't just convenient. Based on certain measures, it's clinically better than its main oral rival. It lets Lilly potentially market orgapron based on efficacy first for some patients.
Best-in-class efficacy, potentially, not just convenience.
Exactly. It just raises the bar significantly for anyone else playing in that oral diabetes and obesity space.
Yeah.
A huge hurdle.
A huge shift indeed. Now, before we move to infrastructure, maybe just quickly touch on the other oncology wins, just to show the pipeline strength wasn't only about orgapron.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. They also reported positive phase 3 results for Jaypirca. That's in treatment-naive CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, one of the more common blood cancers.
Okay.
And separately, positive overall survival data for Verzenio in high-risk early breast cancer. So the message is clear. The R&D engine is firing across multiple big therapeutic areas. Consistent, high-impact results.
Okay, so we've got the huge revenue, we've got pipeline wins securing the future. But the piece that really connects those, the truly strategic element, is this massive infrastructure build-out. It shows they're actually preparing for the scale of demand these drugs might create.
Yes.
This tells you what Lilly really thinks the future market looks like.
It's like they're building the highway before the predicted traffic jam, right?
Good analogy.
When you expect the kind of global demand that drugs like orgapron and Mangaro could generate, your biggest risk suddenly becomes the supply chain. Can you actually make enough? And their answer seems to be aggressive spending on manufacturing to solve that problem now, ahead of time.
And they were specific in the CEO's remarks about new U.S. plants expansions. Let's break down what they're building and why the different focuses matter.
Okay, so 2 new U.S. facilities announced, plus an expansion. The new one in Virginia that's specifically to support their bioconjugate and monoclonal antibody portfolio.
The complex stuff.
Yeah, think large molecules. Foundational tech for modern cancer drugs, next-gen GLP-1s, antibody therapies, that high-tech end.
Okay, and what about handling the sheer volume expected for orgapron?
That seems to be the focus for the other new facility, the one in Texas, and also the expansion of their existing site in Puerto Rico. Both are geared towards the small molecule portfolio.
Which includes orgapron.
Explicitly includes orgapron, yes. So it shows a really deep, immediate commitment to scaling up production for these high-volume oral drugs, the ones they just showed superiority data for.
So that split focus, large molecules in Virginia, massive small molecule capacity in Texas and Puerto Rico, that really paints a picture of their long-term plan.
And they also mentioned planning updates on 2 more new U.S. facilities soon.
That's right. 2 more still to be announced in the coming months. It's just an unprecedented level of manufacturing investment.
Yeah.
It signals management sees the potential market as way, way bigger than what they're currently supplying, which justifies spending billions on physical plants and supply chains. So wrapping up the CEO's strategic picture, we have to look at shareholder value during all this investment. They're pouring billions into R&D, into new factories. How did capital allocation look beyond that?
Well, this is where that 54% growth gives them huge flexibility. Even with all that heavy investment, they still returned significant cash to shareholders.
How much?
$1.3 billion paid out in dividends during the quarter, and they bought back about $700 million worth of shares.
Okay.
So it paints a picture of a company that can fund its future really aggressively, but also reward its current owners at the same time. That's a sign of enormous financial strength, really fueled by the success of current products.
Right. So if we synthesize this deep dive into just the CEO's opening remarks for Q3 2025, It was all about that massive accelerating revenue growth.
Yeah, driven by key products, grabbing that incredible U.S. market share, 6 out of 10 prescriptions in incretins.
The pipeline delivered big approvals, but the real strategic knockout seemed to be that orgapron data showing superiority over oral semaglutide.
Absolutely critical win. And then underpinning all that success is this huge dual-pronged investment in manufacturing, getting ready for both complex biologics and high-volume pills like orgapron.
It's a total commitment to meeting future global demand.
It really is.
So here's the final thought for you to consider. When a pharma giant commits billions to build factories, specifically for their new oral drugs factories that won't even be fully running for years, what scale of long-term global uptake are they modeling internally for something like orgapron? How much of the market do they truly expect to conquer over the next decade? Maybe that level of concrete physical investment is the loudest signal yet of their confidence.
That's a powerful way to put it. What does that ambition tell you?
Something to think about. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive.